decided to do some further investigating in an attempt to locate the scent of beef that she had previously detected on the key to the strong box. She made her way quietly into one of the crew quarters where the dog was confronted by Holly Yellowcrane, a halfling who greeted her warmly. Holly approached one of the currently unoccupied crew beds and produced a small pouch from which she took a few strips of beef jerky and offered them to Iolanthe. Finding no way to communicate this to her friends, Iolanthe coaxed Tess into another quarters where she revealed her true nature and told Tess of the new evidence. It finally seems the friends have found some solid link between one of the members of the crew and the strong box where the stolen earring was found. But could this be another stale lead? Welcome back to New Dalancia, our Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition campaign. I'm your most gracious DM, VG Punks, and with me, as always, are the rest of the crew. I hope everyone's had a good past month. It's been a while.
It's hard to link up those schedules, to be honest, when you've got a bunch of friends that are playing.
That is true. And yet, here we still are, going even past the year mark. We've been running this campaign for more than a year now, which is really fun.
Aren't we going on like almost the 2-year mark?
You know what? Let's see.
I'm pretty sure we passed the 2-year mark because we started at the end of February.
My first archive happened. I don't know what episode it was.
Well,
but,
don't forget, it's episode 2 is for the first one that you have recorded.
Yeah,
oh no, I wasn't looking at I was looking at my backlog, and it looks like May 2020 was our first one.
Yeah,
that I
I
have
feel
in the
like
backlog.
we weren't always streaming on Twitch, so there were definitely some sessions that did not get recorded.
It was just our episode 0 that we didn't stream, but either way.
Okay.
The
Well,
pilot.
I mean, happy almost 2-year anniversary
Indeed, almost 2 years.
or
but
2 years? I don't know.
might be 2 years. Yeah, hold on. Now I'm curious. When is our 2-year anniversary? According to YouTube.
Well, I mean, don't forget, don't check YouTube. You can check Foundry? No, what's the one we used to use? Roll20.
Roll20.
Ah, yes. Ye old Roll20.
Let's see if it's not completely broken like it used to be. Of course, it's always broken.
This one says March 24th, 2020.
Today's
Maybe it
episode
was.
brought to you by Foundry.
Today's episode brought to you by Foundry. It's not Roll20.
So yeah, it's really looking like it's our 2-year anniversary this month for
Yep.
this campaign. We have come a long
Stormy
way
weather.
from landlubbers to sailing on a ship during a fucking storm. Let's go.
I forgot about the storm.
Not only the storm, but Iolanthe, you are on the top deck as Valphalin cranks the wheel of the helm.
Why does it look like Tess is watching a big screen TV?
You
I
could
don't know.
tab through people.
I'm trying to tab through players. Yes, because I'm the streamer, so I keep the camera on the character that's talking.
Oh, that's the mirror. Never mind.
I don't know. I don't know why you can't tab. I didn't know you could before.
Huh.
Nothing I changed. But either way, so Iolanthe, you're on the top deck. Let's go to BRB real quick while I troubleshoot that.
Okay.
Iolanthe, as you look out over the vast ocean before you, it's very difficult to see anything through the rain beating down on the water and the deck of the ship. It sort of creates like this big mist that fogs up your view, but you can in the distance see as the ship kind of winds back and forth, dodging these big icebergs, and just making its way through each of the cracks. You watch as Valphalin occasionally squinting his eyes to try to focus his vision out the forward part of the ship. He appears nervous.
Iolanthe's just kind of pacing around behind Valphalin and with her ears tucked and her hackles raised.
Oh, that's
Ah, Tess, when did you get here?
Tess comes peeking up from the top stair in the staircase, and she kind of hangs around the corner for a second and says, what time of day is it, by the way, out of character?
Um,
Do we know what time of day it is? I can't remember if we slept or not.
So at this point, it's probably around midday. You did sleep, yes. There was a long rest that had happened before the beginning of last session. So it's probably around midday at this point. You guys have already had breakfast and everything.
So it's about afternoon.
That's right.
Okay. Tess kind of leans her head like around the corner and stares at Val before revealing herself completely around the corner, and she says, Tess has never seen a storm to this degree on the ship. Tess has to admit she's feeling a little curious. And then she'll start kind of pacing around the ship's deck, taking a look at the clouds and the rain coming down on the wood. And then she takes a deep breath to smell what the rain smells like.
All three of you go ahead and roll a, let's see, that's balance check is second edition.
Maybe dexterity?
Yeah, let's go ahead and roll a dexterity save. Ooh!
I didn't
Iolanthe,
see that.
what the
was
fuck?
that? What was that? Ooh, you starting out with the nat 20s? Holy
Duck
shit.
and weave, baby. Duck and
Holy
weave.
shit.
I am going to use my inspiration on that.
Okay.
How is that?
Pretty stop, dude.
Come on, where is... What's the thing for the inspiration again? Oh, there it is. Never mind. I see.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a little hidden.
Much better.
Ooh, so much better.
Ianfyr, seeing what's coming up, you grab that crate that's next to you to steady yourself. Tess, you grab onto the pillar that's just below the rear mast here, the aft mast. Iolanthe, you're on 4 feet. You do not have a problem maintaining your balance through this, although the ship suddenly rocks heavily toward the starboard side. You all maintain your footing, and you see plenty of these sailors down below kind of scurrying about, and some of them fall over onto the deck. One of them almost falls off the side of the ship, but grabs a rope just in time to keep themselves on deck as Val cranks the wheel hard to port and barely dodges a very large iceberg that is right in their way.
Ianfyr's gonna do that.
My apologies. This is very rough terrain.
Ianfyr's gonna kind of... And since he's still got his cloak on, he's going to, as a bonus action, sort of turn the material into sort of like a slick kind of plasticky material. Well, you know, it's sort of like it makes it
Waterproof material.
Yeah, so it's more so that the water, instead of like sticking to it, it will now just start sort of sliding off of it.
The water starts to slide off it, and you feel the water sort of wicking off of your other clothing, and you start to warm up quite a little bit, or quite a bit. For the rest of you who are out in the rain, it's pretty cold.
Tess is going to pull her hood up around her ears and her horns and kind of stabilizing herself against this little center mast. She's just gonna kind of hold her ground and say, Tess has never seen a storm to this degree before. It's very cold.
Val kind of looks over his shoulder, cranking that wheel one more time to port to sort of even everything out. He says, "My friends, while I do enjoy your company, I believe it best if you went below deck, where it's warm and dry."
But what about you?
"I'll be fine. This is not my first time sailing through this part of Dalancia."
Tess does have to agree, this is very, very cold and wet weather.
You see that Val, he's still kind of just in his like sailing clothes. He's ill-equipped for the weather at hand, and he's soaking wet, but still manning his post as expected.
Tess
It
is
appears cold.
Tess is definitely going to take time to step aside, and she's going to take off her much beloved cloak and hood, and she's going to drape it over his shoulders and say, "Here, you can return this to Tess when you're done. But stay warm, my friend, and keep us safe."
Phelan eyes you for just a moment, and then affixes his eyes back on the front of the ship. And doesn't continue his sentence as voice trails off, and though his mouth is moving, no words escape the front of his face.
Tess is going to take time to, because she already draped it over his shoulders, but she's also going to lift the hood up and place it carefully over his spiky dragonborn head, and then give him a couple of really sweet pats to the shoulder and say, "Tess believes in you."
"I thank you."
And then she's gonna head for below deck.
Phelan continues to churn this wheel left and right as he dodges and weaves in and out of these icebergs, the rain beating down upon the deck of the ship, causing a mist that obscures even your vision as you look out over the sea before you. It's almost magical to you, if you don't have any kind of sailing excuse me, skill. It's almost magical to you to kind of watch this go down as he's navigating the ship out of harm's way. It's almost as though every moment there's some new danger that could potentially sink you guys, like right here and now, and he is just navigating you through it easily.
Tess just hopes that her cloak will do what she needs it to do. Otherwise, Tess is ill-equipped to handle the ocean, so good luck. Good luck, have fun.
I thank you.
Iolanthe looks at Val for a really long time with her head tilted and then kind of reluctantly follows Tess outside.
You mean downstairs?
Yes, sorry, downstairs.
What about Ianfyr? How does he feel about this?
Because this storm is looking a little beyond what he's used to dealing with. So.
As you all go below deck, there is a sort of murmuring coming from the general crew area down here as you notice that a lot of them are actually awake, perhaps not able to sleep very much with all the storm and all the loud creaking of the ship as it banks left and right.
Tess is going to stop for a moment and then kind of hug her back up against this wall and see if she can hear what the crewmates are saying about the storm. This is her first time ever dealing with something like this, so she's pretty curious about how everyone else on the ship feels about it.
Iolanthe got wet while she was up on the deck just then, so she comes over, and once she's in the once she's safely out of the rain, she just shakes and gets water everywhere.
Iolanthe kind of shakes off and water just kind of splatters all over you, Ianfyr.
He got his cloak, he's fine.
Tess, go ahead and roll a perception check. You overhear that the tiefling, just to the tiefling, you recognize her voice from previous. She's the one that travels with Bogram.
She the healer?
No, she's not the healer. The healer was the
Okay.
human. The tiefling was the mage. You overhear her kind of talking with everyone near her bunk, and she's it'd take a miracle for us to get out of this. And you recognize the voice as being Kildrak. I'm sure the captain and our crew can get us through this.
Does this tiefling have a name that Tess is aware of, or no?
Iritra. Iritra.
Ireera. Okay. And they're saying that we'll never get through this?
This is the part of the sea that not many ships are able to navigate. Let us pray that our helmsman is of admirable quality. Listening even further, you hear the sound of teeth chattering. Sounds like shivering.
Anyone else want to make any moves before I do? I don't want to hog the spotlight.
Iolanthe's just kind of pacing around, looking very concerned.
Okay.
Well, nothing for me.
Okay. After hearing the teeth chattering, Tess is going to compose herself and then try to act like she is just doing her rounds, making sure that everyone is okay during the storm.
As you come around the corner, you see that Iritra is kind of sitting up in her hammock and looking over at Kildrak, who is speaking to her. And in one of the other hammocks, Adam is curled up, trying their best to keep warm. And you hear that the chattering is definitely coming from them.
Is Iolanthe standing currently right next to Tess?
Yeah, as soon as Tess started walking, she kind of got up and basically is like glued to her side, like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna follow you.
So I'm assuming that right now the temperature below deck and above deck is cold, right?
Yeah, it's freezing cold.
Okay. So Val currently has Tess's cloak, but stepping forward and seeing that Adam is freezing, she's going to turn to Iolanthe and say, do you know of any blankets or anything that are on board?
No.
Iolanthe tilts her head up at Tess and looks around thoughtfully, She can't think of anywhere where there would be extra blankets, but she comes up and kind of nuzzles up to Adam to try and keep them warm.
You know, if we had like a hard surface that we could put some like empty crates or stuff on, I could make us a fire. I mean, we would need some kind of surface where we could keep it contained so it doesn't spread onto the ship. But
Tess does
I
worry you.
don't want to set the ship on fire.
Tess does worry about setting the ship on fire. Let Tess think about this for a second. Let me look through my abilities. I don't know if you guys want to as well, but I'm definitely going to. Let's see. Do I have anything that can contain a fire? Let's see. Let's see.
I mean, wouldn't one be in like a Dungeoneer's kit, like some kind of
Aw, man. For a moment I thought I had something, but apparently I just have fake fire.
I mean, I'm carrying a torch.
It'll keep you fake warm.
Fake warm.
The Dungeoneer's pack includes a backpack, a crowbar, a hammer, 10 pitons, 10 torches, a tinderbox, 10 days of rations, a water skin, and 50 feet of hempen rope. There's a black cat in our backyard. We're about to get a picture of a black cat in the backyard.
There is a whole ass black cat in the backyard right now, and I'm freaking sorry.
Tell it Twitch says hey.
Which says hello to the black cat. Iolanthe, Ianfyr, as you stand, and also Tess, as you stand there, you also notice that there are several other of the crew that are kind of huddled up in their hammocks. Some of them have blankets, some of them don't.
Iolanthe had hopped onto, or I guess, is Adam's in a hammock?
Adam is in a hammock. Adam does not have a blanket.
Okay, Iolanthe kind of did a little leap up into the hammock and kind of curled up to try and keep them warm.
Adam, after you hop up,
Although I also smell kind of like wet dog, so.
That's fair. That's fair.
Adam, as you hop up there, sort of cuddles up to you and starts to stroke your fur.
After reviewing my current items in my bag, Tess has come to the conclusion that she has nothing on hand that's going to help. However, if we can get everyone to follow us to the tavern, we can warm up with soup or alcohol. So Tess is going to kind of stand, where is the center? I think it's right here, in almost the center of the barracks and say, if you are having a hard time dealing with the cold brought on by the storm, please follow Tess to the tavern. She will make everyone's soup. And or alcohol or tea, whatever you need. Just please come warm up in the tavern.
One by one, those that do not have blankets start to... Whoa. Realize there are two of him on the field. Those who don't have blankets, and Adam actually gets up from their hammock with you, Iolanthe, start to... Let's see. kind of pulling people out here.
I'm gonna wait right here, but Tess is obviously heading straight up to the tavern. But I'll be right back.
Before I leave the
Alright.
hammock, can I do like a brief, like real quick, I guess perception check on the hammocks that I'm in, like over by where Adam and the tiefling were?
What are you trying to find out?
Just seeing if there's any smells that smell unusual or maybe even familiar.
The hammock that you're laying in smells like wet dog. The hammocks nearby don't seem to have any particularly interesting smell. They all just kind of smell like wet humanoid.
Ugh. Iolanthe kind of tilts her head, wondering why the humans smell wet, and then shudders and decides not to think about it and keeps going. Kitty.
Oh, what's going on? Oh, okay. Left. Doing this all. All right. So everybody sort of piles into the galley area and starts to take seats around the tables and at the bar, and quickly the seats all kind of fill up. Everybody just trying to keep warm. It's rather dry on this lower deck. Actually, no, it's pretty humid, but it's not wet, thankfully. The light of the lamp providing the most warm in this area, but it is still freezing cold. A lot of these people are sort of, wrapped up in these overcoats, and they have hoods and things that are, they're just doing their best to keep warm, but you can hear the clattering of teeth as the shivering continues.
What kind of glasses do they use for the drinks?
They're mugs. They're wooden mugs with iron bands.
You can't set them on fire.
I mean,
well-
you could fuel them with alcohol, but if they're
What-
wooden, then
What do Val and Antarius use to warm up the water or to get cooking? Is that here in the tavern, or is it
I mean,
where all of the food is, like in that other room?
There's another room that has a range top in it. There's actually a very small range top behind the bar here.
Okay,
Enough to cook one meal at a time.
one meal at a time, but what about the other room? Tess is going to, hopefully, I hope I'm going the right way.
Not the right way.
Not the right way. Okay, is
Yeah,
it
there's upstairs.
downstairs?
Yeah, you gotta go upstairs one.
Okay. And then all the way this way.
All the way to the south end, there you have it. So this is the main galley. There's a range top in here, as well as a lot of different crates of food.
But what creates the heat for the range top?
Wood and coal.
So is there more wood and coal in this area than there was in the tavern?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a pile of wood and a box of coal.
Okay. So Tess doesn't have her cloak anymore, so she can't really collect a bunch of extra stuff, but what she can do is try to fit it in her bag with her mother's skull.
Okay.
So she's going to try and fit as many coal pieces and as many dried out wooden logs as possible.
So you're just gonna take the coal out of the box and wooden logs off the floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on her way out of the room, she will grab an armful, like 2 arms fulls worth of meat, bread, and vegetables. Whatever she can carry.
Go ahead and roll a strength check, please.
Okay.
You load up all of the items that you just mentioned until you feel like you can't carry anymore, and go ahead.
Okay, so she tries to scoop up as much as she can, but I definitely want to try to use my my inspiration to try and pick up more than that. So she's gonna try again.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. Scoop up just as much as you can carry.
As much as she can, and she's racing back to the lower decks, and then she'll hop over the counter with what she
Slowly
has.
Tess hoddles, or kind of, hoddles down the stairs, throws all of this stuff on the countertop, and then hops over the bar. The element that is there behind the bar actually has a small oven on there for baking various small portions of things. This can probably be used as a place where you could heat stuff.
Tess is going to lay everything down and then stare at everything really quizzically. And then turn around to mainly Ianfyr, who is, I realize, is, beyond this whole bar full of people. And kind of almost embarrassingly says, Tess has never actually cooked much in her life. Tess mainly lived off of rations. She's not sure how to make a stew that's going to warm everyone here.
Everybody go ahead and roll a dexterity save, please. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So once again, the ship banks hard toward the port. You all are able to keep your footing pretty easily, but one of the sailors actually falls right off of her stool, lands on the floor, right on her butt. Ugh. Dreia reaches down to lend her a hand up, and she bats her hand away. I'm fine. And goes back to her seat.
All right. If so, Ianfyr will say, I'm not entirely skilled with making things, but I can at least make the water hot, and if nothing else, maybe we'll just add flavors that we like.
Water hot will make all of these spices do something at least, and Tess is going to start going through all of the different spices that Antarius no doubt has stored behind the counter.
Yes. There's a ton of stuff back here.
So at this point, I'm sorry, at this point this is pretty much just Ianfyr and Tess trying to boil water and start to make a soup. What's Iolanthe doing?
Yolanthe's putting her paws up on the bar and leaning in to try and get a sniff at whatever they're about to put in the stew.
Iolanthe, the stuff that is behind the counter, you inherently sort of know how to use these ingredients because you've spent a lot of time on your own having to cook for yourself and make tea for yourself and things like that. It is very apparent to you that they don't know what they're doing.
Yolanthe, every time they reach for a spice that won't go well together with the other ones, she growls.
So this is how this whole scene goes right here. So I imagine Ianfyr is helping boil the water, correct?
Yeah, maybe he says something like, Maybe we should add a little bit of some of this alcohol in order to make it burn hotter. Faster.
So Tess adds a little bit of the, what is it? What kind of alcohol does Antarius store back there? Is it
Kerosene.
vodka? Is it tequila? What is it?
There's whiskey and rum and stout.
And stout. Okay.
There's lots and lots of stout, but yeah, stout and ale.
Okay, so Tess is going to pick up the stout and then put it right next to the, we're working on boiling water, right? And then she runs over to this counter here and she's picking up, I imagine we have carrots, we have onions, we have celery, probably, potatoes, lots and lots
Yeah, I
of
was gonna say, we know
potatoes.
he has potatoes.
Oh,
'cause
and there's a
we have
lot of
potatoes.
spices down here. You see parsley or some kind of like green, herbs, and then there's like some red ones.
So,
And go ahead and roll an intelligence check.
okay.
Iolanthe sees Tess pull out the different vegetables and starts like poking her nose at the ones that are the best ones.
Yeah, that's what Tess is looking for here, because with Tess's prior knowledge, she knows that Iolanthe probably has a good understanding of how to cook good food. But Tess, however, does not. She was never taught how to cook food.
So yeah, you're able to identify like there's parsley, there's like some form of like oregano that by the smell that seems to be down there. There are a couple of herbs that you're not able to identify.
What about meats? Do we have any kind of meats that are stored away, that are dried or anything?
Ooh, so you start looking around. No, there's plenty of bread and things like that. Meats though, oh yeah, you remember seeing that upstairs.
Upstairs, okay. Tess is gonna walk over to Ianfyr and say, just 1 second. Tess feels like she needs to find some meat for this. And then saying, excuse me, excuse Tess, and then she's gonna try to jump between what looks like, is this Adam and then someone else?
Everybody go ahead and roll a dexterity save.
Oh no.
Tess is in a hurry. Ooh,
Wow.
nat 20! What the fuck?
So, okay, let me go ahead and roll for everybody.
Parkour.
Parkour.
Oh my gosh, okay. The ship banks hard to the port one more time, but Tess, you're able to easily keep your feet. You actually use the momentum of the ship banking to kind of propel yourself off of the counter into a backflip in which you flip directly over the head of Faux Tricker here and land completely on your feet like an acrobat just behind him. He looks at you astonished. The others start to kind of fall out of their chairs and onto the floor. Ugh!
Tess also looks at them astonished, but it also occurs to her that she's holding her tail, so that may have helped with her balance.
The Malian judge gives it a 4.2.
Of course they do.
Tess holds both of her index fingers up on each hand, and she says, Tess will be back in just 1 second.
Surprised Tess didn't say parkour.
That's for Ahura. That's not for Tess. She's not going to appropriate that. But yeah, she's going to go looking for whatever remnants of stored meat that we have on the ship.
What is
Meat,
Ianfyr adding to the stew?
specifically meat and onions. Ianfyr is bringing the hotness. He's bringing the boiled water. He's bringing
That
the
is not how you say that.
he's bringing what we need.
I am causing the thirst.
Yeah, he's getting lit.
He's preventing bacteria buildup.
Spicy.
So essentially, when we have the water and stuff into the container, I'm going to use Firebolt.
Go ahead and throw that in the chat, please. What level are you casting this spell? Is this a cantrip?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your. Well, no, no attack needed. This is pretty simple. Your target is not moving; it is stationary.
Well, I mean, it also depends on the fire damage it's taking.
I mean, I think you've got pretty good control on this one. You've just got to create a small fire, which is, I mean, this is an illusionist trick for you. You're easily able to get these logs lit, even with the humidity. Tess, you migrate downstairs back toward the galley. You're able to find about a half crate of meat and various fish.
What about onions? Can I find onions at all?
Yeah, they have onions in there.
Okay, lots of what is it? Fish and what else?
You've got fish. You've got beef flanks.
Okay, so I'm specifically going to choose the beef and lots of onions, and then move back up.
Ooh, we're doing like a beef and onion stew. It sounds like.
Yeah, almost like a French onion beef stew. Yeah, you feel me?
So, Ianfyr is gonna sort of point towards the two tables that are at the other corner, and then he's gonna use prestidigitation to warm the surface.
Ooh.
And then he's gonna point to the soup, and he's also gonna use prestidigitation to add some flavor to it.
I was about to ask what it meant by flavor up, like give it salt.
Probably got some salt, some peppers, some fucking red
Some
pepper
cayenne.
flakes.
Ianfyr, one of the things that you've always noted using your prestidigitation spell is that when you add the flavor of salt to things, it tends to just kick up the natural flavor of the thing that you're adding salt to. And so you sort of focus on this dish, and you focus on adding that salty kind of flavor to it, and let that thing fly. In this case, I know that it's not very rule booky of me to do so, but go ahead and roll yourself a wild magic surge, if you please.
I mean, I am using it up to 3 times, so I can understand that.
Mm-hmm. You're fine. No, you're fine. So you do the things that you have set out to do.
So yeah, so basically the entire surface area for these tables and whatnot should start feeling warmed up now.
So ain't no one got any reasons to be shivering to death in the tavern.
There's a very distinct warmth coming from the range top where this water is now boiling. This broth is now boiling, and all the vegetables in there are starting to create a very thick stock.
So, garlic is a dry storage ingredient. Would that be behind the tavern, or would that be with the rest of the food?
You probably picked up some garlic along with onions when you were in the galley.
Okay, so Tess walks in and she's got like a bear hug worth of like meat, onions, garlic, and she like runs up to Adam and says, "Please excuse Tess if you wouldn't mind." As if Adam were in the way.
Adam kind of stands up, continues kind of staring everywhere but into your face, and moves aside for you.
Tess hops up onto the chair, and then after the chair, jumps over the bar.
Adam moves back into their chair.
And she's just going to, I'm assuming, where are we cooking these? Is it off to the side or is it in the center?
Everybody go ahead and roll a dexterity save.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I have inspiration. I'm gonna use it again.
That's what inspiration is for.
I think. I thought I did.
Ianfyr, go ahead and roll a second dexterity save.
All right. So if you're looking for the check, it's right underneath the death saves and stuff, right above your stats.
No, Iolanthe rolled.
Sorry, I wasn't seeing it.
Yeah, I see it. The ship rocks hard a starboard, and the starboard side kind of dips down, and you all sort of try your best to maintain your footing. You see that other of the sailors are kind of falling from their seats and having a hard time staying positioned. Ianfyr, let me see. So Tess, you're able to keep your footing. Iolanthe, you kind of fall on your butt, but you're right up against the wall, so you actually kind of are able to sort of maintain your footing, although you like lose it a little bit and kind of fall over. No harm done there, just an accident. But Ianfyr, you right in front of the small range top and oven. As you fall backward, you try to sort of save this pot of water that has been
Oh no.
that has been up there boiling, but you cannot, and it falls over and it spills all over the floor.
Ah.
Oh no. No worries. We can definitely do this again.
Well,
One thing that you notice is that the warmth of all of that steam kind of permeates the room, and it kind of warms everyone up.
Will be
People
a lot.
start to.
It will be a lot better with all of the spices and everything in the water, right when we get it boiling, though.
Dreia Blackstrand makes her way back up into her seat as Santigus reaches down and sort of gives her a hand. Turid hoists herself back up into her seat and flops down right there. As Holly is attempting to get up, she starts to reach up toward her seat, and Dreia reaches down to give her a hand, and Holly sort of bats her hand again away once again. Turid reaches down and hoists her up into her seat.
I wonder. No, I guess I mean, let me check a look at my things here. Probably not.
Santigus looks over at Holly.
I wouldn't
Now,
have-
that's uncalled for. Why are you being the way that you are right now? Holly just kind of looks off to the side and scoffs. I don't need your help.
I'm sorry, who said that? That was Santigus?
Santigus, yeah, and Holly.
Okay.
Kildrak kind of slowly makes his way back into the chair.
What was
He looks down
Santigus
at
doing?
the-
He was trying to clean everything up?
Santigus had just had hoisted himself back into his seat, and like a bunch of them had like lost their,
He didn't help.
like had fallen out of their seat.
He didn't help anyone else, though? It was just himself?
He helped Dreia.
Dreia, okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Dreia, his BFF, who's sitting next to him.
And then Holly got super pissed off by that?
That's right. yeah.
Okay.
So it seems. Kildrak pulls himself back up into the seat. He looks down at the floor and sees the spilt vegetable broth. Well, seems like it's going to be a few more minutes. Is there any grog back there?
Tess will be happy to check, definitely. In the meantime, Tess had just jumped over the bar. She still had a... So she's not wearing her cloak anymore, so she just had a shirt, like... Imagine if you're, like, trying to carry a bunch of, like, fruits or snacks back, like, in your shirt. Like, the little... I don't know what to call it. The kangaroo pouch of
Yeah, I was
snacks.
gonna say, a little makeshift kangaroo pouch.
Yeah, I'm
And-
with you.
And she's going to dump It was a little bit of beef. So let's say that Tess picked up 2 beef flanks, 2 onions, and then 3 entire globes of garlic. And she's gonna pop those into the stewing pot. But we recently spilled the water, so Tess realizes that we're gonna have to find a way to refill that. She just hasn't
Iolanthe?
gotten there yet.
As soon as Tess puts the beef out and Iolanthe lays eyes on the beef, she gets almost this like hypnotized look on her face, and drool just starts coming out of her mouth, and she starts leaning in, trying to take a bite of it.
Iolanthe, perception check.
What kind of perception check?
Advantage kind.
That's my favorite kind.
That's not beef, dude. That's pork.
Ah. Still though, she tries to eat some of it.
There's literally no
Listen.
other beef on the ship that you have scented except for the one that
I
was
was
in
wondering
the
about that, though.
quarters.
Is this like a Tess isn't supposed to eat pork for religious reasons kind of thing?
Is
No,
it?
no, not at all. Tess's
just
mother
thinks it's
never
pork,
limited
it's beef.
her at all. It's based on Tess does not literally know. Like, she doesn't know the difference between pork or beef or chicken.
Oh no.
That's just
This is
she grew up with, if there was meat on your plate, you're lucky tonight.
Tess is not the kind of person that has had to like survive on her own, like in the wilds, like cooking her own meals and things like that. She's always traveled town to town, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like always kind of been around the rest of society.
Yeah,
gotcha.
she had dwarven quote unquote family siblings, and that's it. So they were like, if there's meat in your mouth and mead in your mug, you're good to go.
But as a downside to that, you pretty much always think it's steak.
Yeah, Tess cannot tell the difference between pork or steak. Like, she knows what chicken looks like, but otherwise she cannot tell between beef or pork. It's just all meat in her eyes, and that's it.
Ah. So it's a pork stew instead of a beef stew.
So it would seem. How very odd. A pork stew. But I suppose it's not unheard of.
I mean, we add some noodles and we can have some ramen.
Ianfyr over here like, well, let's
Yeah,
have
I
some
don't-
show you ramen. Oh,
I
yes.
don't think that Tess has actually had pasta, to be honest.
Yeah, it's fairly common to have noodle bowls and stuff like that, I would say. Like traveling.
Well, noodle would
Meats and vegetables, yes, but I don't think that Tess has ever stopped at a tavern to actually eat noodles, because her first time eating at a tavern was with you all. The last time she ate like a really, really good tavern food was with her dwarven brethren, and that was basically just alcohol and meat and some broth. There were never vegetables or noodles, you know?
Ianfyr, you're able to save enough of the broth where you can add some water and some more vegetables and get it going again.
Now, let's see if there's like a noodle or like rice, or I mean,
Rice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
maybe
rice
we
would
can
probably
even,
be the closest.
Maybe we can even, if there's plenty of bread, maybe we can make some dumplings.
Tess, when you went into the southern storeroom, you actually did see some bags of rice in there.
But I didn't pick it up at the time.
This is the cargo bay, the room just to the south where you're looking right now.
You could always send the dog to get it.
If you look to the south right now, you can see the southern cargo bay.
Okay.
If you're tired of vaulting over the bar.
So after dropping, we determined this was pork, right? This wasn't beef that I
You don't
picked
know
up? Okay.
You don't know that.
You think it's beef.
Tess picked up some meat and some vegetables and spices. Is there anything else you think that would make the stew really good, Ianfyr?
Well, if we had, like, if we've got plenty of bread or some other things like that, that'll definitely be filling, and it'll help keep some of the heat.
Bread. And Tess is gonna look around the tavern. Bread.
Or if no bread, like maybe if there's some kind of like some rice or like some kind of something to help, soak and absorb some of this broth.
Santigas stands up from his chair, kind of seeing everyone's sort of quizzical looks, and walks over to the end of the bar. There, something I might be able to help with?
Gus, my friend. Are you familiar with making really good stews? Tess is a little new to this cooking thing.
Might have prepared myself a stew once or twice on the road. What do you need?
And she's going to race up to him almost like too excitedly and say, "What would you put into a stew that you really liked?"
Well,
So far, we have the meats and we have the vegetables.
what kind of meat are we working with here?
As far as Tess can tell, it's beef.
Okay, we got a beef
Behind Gus's back, Iolanthe starts shaking her head really frantically.
Santigas places his hand on top of your head and starts to give you scritches,
I think.
kind of nonchalantly.
I think. Do I need to run? What kind of dice roll do I need to roll to say that Tess saw what Iolanthe was putting down? To say that Tess was completely incorrect about the meat type.
That would be an not intuition. What's
Because-
insight? Insight.
Okay. Because Tess does know that Iolanthe at this point is not really a doggy dog.
Yep.
I
go
don't
ahead and-
remember. Does Ianfyr know this?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
No, Ianfyr does not know this.
So Tess sees Iolanthe shaking her head, but she still doesn't quite know what kind of meat type we're talking about. So she says, or chicken, or
Shake.
quail, or
Wait,
You
um,
don't know what kind of meat it is in there, do you?
It's Tess knows. Wait, just a minute. Tess is just thinking, and she's gonna look at Iolanthe one more time. What does Iolanthe have to say?
Iolanthe
Margaret
kind of
stands up.
like turns around like she's scratching a flea and tries really hard to imitate a squealing pig noise.
It
Go ahead and
could
roll a
be.
performance check, please. Bagram stands up from the table, slams his fist on the table, and moves over. Goes,
Okay. I feel like Tess would understand at this point,
I
based
knew
on that roll. Okay, Tess. My bad. Tess just. It's a very hard time remembering the name of this animal. It is pork, the pig, bacon,
oh,
pork belly.
I can't say I've made a pork stew before, but I do know some things that go pretty well with pork, so...
Looking at Bagram, Tess is going to point at him and say, "Get back here, Bagram. Tess thinks that you could make a delicious stew." Trying to hype him up, get that ego going.
Bagram looks at you, his eyebrow cocks, and he puts his hands up. I don't want to be in your stew.
Now, Tess knows that you would like to help. Come on, come help Tess. And
Well,
Ianfyr, please.
So Ianfyr is going to say, well, what I understand about soup, at least so far as the spicy books go, is that all a man needs is his meat and veggies.
That's what Tess's mom used to say.
Not to mention some of this filler right here, and he Santigas comes out of the southern storeroom, and he's got this sort of satchel, just not a satchel. It's like a package, kind of over his, slung over his shoulder. He kind of flings it down on the counter. There you go.
Is he close enough to the counter for Tess to lean over and grab his cheeks?
Yes.
So I'm gonna move my little token here, and Tess is obviously kind of pushing her body in between two people that are at the bar, but she's going to squeeze Bogram's cheeks and say, Tess knew that you were a really good cook, a sweet person down to the heart. You are a good man, Bogram.
Holly scoffs and walks upstairs.
Tess takes note of that.
Wait, I thought that was
Dreia.
Antigus.
Dreia kind of Santigas is the one on the south side of the bar right now. You're right next to Santigas.
Yeah, this is Bogram that brought the bag of goods.
Holly does have a pretty similar hairstyle, though, to be fair.
A similar hairstyle to who?
The half orc up top.
Wait, what?
Because she was saying she thought Bogram was the one who brought the satchel, the thing.
Yeah,
Wait.
was it Santigas or
hold on, where
Bogram?
did- Santigas is the one that brought up the rice.
Okay, no. Who brought up the other goods? No, that was Santigas, not Bogram.
What other goods?
Yeah, Santigas
Okay,
is the
so
one
that
who
was
just came
Santigas.
down
That was my
and came
bad.
from the south. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Bogram hasn't done shit to help anyone so far.
Okay.
He's just complained the entire time.
So that's Santigas. So Tess kind of squished his little cheeks and then gave him like a kiss on his little cheeks and then took his ingredients. And it was Holly
Who left?
who reacted to that based on Tess giving him special attention, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna take notes, so y'all do your thing.
From the stairs, a drow woman descends. My, it is lively down here. And takes a seat at one of the tables. Turid, turning to her, says, "There is yummy food." And sort of pants with excitement. Her hands on top of the table. You have always been an excitable one. Yes,
Iolanthe kind of
I am
side eyes
always
the drow.
excited when there is good food. Say again.
I said Iolanthe, from where she's sitting, is kind of side-eyeing the drow a little bit while she still tries to watch Tess cook.
The drow, is that Valine, or is that a different drow?
That is Valine, yeah.
Okay. Does Tess see that Iolanthe is doing this little side eye?
Perception check, please.
Gladly. Ooh. I got me a 2.
You don't notice shit. You're watching. You're too
Too busy with the soups.
You're
Gotcha.
playing
busy
against
with
the
the
chicken.
soups. But what you do notice is that as soon as Valine comes down those stairs, her eyes lock directly onto Santigas.
In like an angry way, or just locks on?
No, it just locks on.
She's
Okay.
checking out his butt.
Santigas leans
Okay.
over the table with an arm towards you, Tess. Well, ma'am, if there's nothing else that you require, I'll be on my way back to my seat. A slight blush colors his cheeks, a sort of pinkish color.
And Tess has only ever known kissing to be a friendly kind of thing, so she just smiles and gives a thumbs up and says, the soup and the alcohol will be ready soon enough. And then she motions to the entire tavern and says, for everyone.
As Santigus is walking back, would Ianfyr notice that, what's the drow's name again?
Valine,
Billeen.
Valine would be watching Santigus, essentially?
go ahead and roll a perception check. General perception check. Wow. You not only notice that that Valine is kind of eyeing him down, but like also that she's kind of staring at his butt, dude.
Checking out that
Like
cake.
leaning over the bar, yeah, she's looking at his badonk.
That's Holly, right?
No, that's Valine.
Billeen,
Valine.
okay.
Holly left in a huff because
Yeah.
reasons.
Holly left in a huff for some reason.
I know we're supposed to be staying together, but I kind of want to like go see what Holly's up to.
Go for it.
Wasn't that the one that gave me the beef jerky?
That is the one that gave you the beef jerky.
So it was, let me get this straight just for my notes. Billeen looked at Santigus with the lustful eyes, while Holly disappeared in a jealous rage.
So it seems.
Okay.
Holly has planted herself back in her
Cabin,
her hammock, and
upstairs in the
she
next floor.
she's kind of pulled out a book and is reading quietly to herself. Sometimes you hear kind of sigh.
Iolanthe kind of sits and watches her for a second, and then kind of slowly approaches and sits in front of her, kind of wags her tail a little.
She looks down at you. Oh, puppy, are you hungry? You're all alone, aren't you?
Iolanthe tilts her head.
Oh, hey, the tapping is working now, so feel free to disappear into whatever rooms you want.
Oh, nice.
What the hell, Foundry? Okay. Holly kind of sits up, places her book face down onto her hammock, and yeah, they are making a stew, aren't they? And those aren't always good for dogs. Here. She goes over into the room one more time and disappears around the corner. As you
Iolanthe-
enter the room. Oh,
I was about to say, if she can, Yolanthe's gonna follow her in.
she kind of rifles around underneath this mattress and once again produces the same sack. Reaches in and
As soon as she
grabs-
pulls it out, I want to try and do a real quick, like, perception sniff check to see if I can pick up any kind of smells besides the beef. Like, for who it might belong to or where it might...
on the sack itself.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll it.
Is this one at advantage?
Yes.
Nice.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. So you just by the scent of this sack, you can tell that Holly is the only other person that has handled it.
I see. Yolanthe kind of waffles at the sack and kind of nudges at it.
She hands you these, or she places these several strips of jerky into her hands and holds it out to you. This is the self-same scent that was upon the key the first time that you inspected it.
Can I pick up that same scent anywhere else, like on her person, like in her pocket?
In her pocket?
Like, does it smell like she has anything like that key?
How are you going to do this? Are you just going to like put your nose into her pocket, or how are you doing this?
Well, I'm gonna quickly gobble up the beef jerky, like the way a really hungry dog would, and then I'm gonna start trying to pretend that I'm looking for more, like sniffing her arms and and pockets and pouches and stuff, but actually secretly trying to find any suspicious scents.
Okay, so you kind of pick up the beef, chew it a bit, start to kind of investigate her. Go ahead and roll actually an investigation check.
I'm not sure if that one was supposed to be an advantage, but I didn't roll it at advantage.
No advantage. You kind of sniff around. You try to do your best to kind of evade her, preventing you from doing that. But once you kind of get close to the pocket, she kind of pushes you back and says, "Oh no, I don't have any more food. That's it. No more for puppies." And she ties the sack off and places it back underneath the mattress.
Iolanthe's secretly kind of annoyed, but she puts on a show of being a really happy, excited dog with tail wags and licks.
Once again, out of her pocket, pulls out the book and goes over to the bed in the corner. That's it for puppies. Her teeth chatter a little bit as she hoists the blanket over her shoulder and tucks herself in.
All right. Well, Iolanthe kind of looks around and figures maybe she'll have to try again another time, but for now she'll head back up to the tavern.
Perception check.
Regular or advantage?
Regular. As you are just about to leave the room, Holly sort of turns over in her bed and starts to sort of mumble to herself. And with your keen sense of hearing, you are able to discern that she mentions Santigas. She's kind of mumbling angrily.
Iolanthe kind of stops at the doorway with her ears perked up, and then she turns around and kind of comes over and puts her chin on the side of the bed and just looks at Holly with big old tough eyes.
Holly is turned over facing the wall, and you can hear the kind of distinct sound of crying. There's like a sniffling.
Oh.
She turns over. You see her kind of wipe her face off, and she turns over to look at you. Oh, are you still hungry?
Iolanthe kind of nudges her arm with her nose and licks her hand, and just kind of snuggles in and looks up at her with like the big sad face.
She's slowly kind of hoists herself up in the bed. Okay, just a couple more. And then walks over toward the other bed once more, produces the sack of jerky and pours some out into her hand and offers it out to you.
Iolanthe kind of looks at the food and then looks up at her, but doesn't go to take the food.
Oh, I'll never understand animals. Look, pup, I'm tired. It's been a long night, and I've got work in the morning. She proceeds to go back to her bed, where she once again throws the cover over herself. Good night, doggy.
Iolanthe kind of sighs and then leaves the room again to go back to the tavern.
As you come back down, the sound of the sort of murmuring between all of the various people who were positioned at various tables in the bar amplify.
Since it's just technically the three of us, would you guys mind going over about 30 minutes?
Not at all.
I didn't realize it was already almost 7, so I wanted to make sure that y'all were okay with that.
Yeah, fine with it.
At this point, Ianfyr's got the water to a point where it is at a boil, and the delicious flavor and aroma of all of the vegetables and garlic and all of and onion and all of that you've thrown in here has start to permeate the entire area. It's about time, Ianfyr, you know that you should be dropping in your proteins, your meats.
All right, it's about that time. If you can toss me some of those meats.
Give me that meat.
Oh, Tess has a whole plate of meats. Here you go. Tess thinks this might be beef, but please correct her if she's wrong. And she's going to pass over a plate of, I think, pretty obviously pork.
You don't know.
She has no idea.
Well, I mean, at least Ianfyr should, I hope, be able to determine the difference.
Ianfyr hasn't spent a whole lot of time cooking for himself, but you definitely know this is probably not beef.
Well, Ianfyr is gonna make a gesture to have one of his daggers drop from within his sleeve into his hand, so that he can start cutting the meats into smaller pieces.
He just kind of like over the bowl is like dicing this meat kind of one at a time into the bowl, where it starts to boil and that smell starts to mix with the rest of the smells. Oh my gosh, it smells so good.
Now I gotta go make me a pork stew.
Tess has to
Iolanthe-
admit she's never eaten fresh meats before. Tess has always indulged in dried meats throughout her travels, so stew is quite new. Very impressed with how Ianfyr is cooking.
Iolanthe makes her way around to the side of the bar where Ianfyr is cutting the meat, and she keeps trying to lean her head over to try and snag a piece.
Kildrak, leaning over the bar, says, we should be lucky at that. We're only a few days out of port. Once we're out here for a week or two, we'll run those stores of fresh meat dry pretty quickly. Then we'll be down to only the dry stuff. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, but definitely gonna miss that stuff a couple months in.
But the vegetables have a much higher water content. They fill you up faster than the meats do.
That's right, but also they're harder to keep.
Even when dried?
Well, how you gonna dry them on a ship, right?
Tess thinks that with Ianfyr's fire magic and the ability to hang up our meats and vegetables, we could probably make those last quite a bit longer than you would imagine.
Huh. I never really quite considered that. That's interesting.
Oh,
We don't need no water. Let the veggies all burn.
let the veggies all burn. And Tess is super used to living off of dehydrated goods, such as peas and celery with carrots, along with dried up meats. Tess thinks we'll survive.
After a time, the stew sort of comes around, and man, that smell is just so good. You're feeling like it's pretty close to being done, if not already done.
We all know that when it comes to soup, you think it's done, but you gotta let it simmer for another half an hour.
Let's take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll be right back.
At this point, the stew is probably one of the most delicious things you've ever smelled. It's been a while since you've had a, well, it's been a couple days now since you've had a, solid home-cooked meal. That wasn't something that was just very quickly whipped together. Kildrak, still leaning over the bar at you, Tess. It smells real good. Where'd you learn to cook like that?
Your guess is as good as Tess. She kind of shrugs and then laughs before turning back to him and saying, Tess just went to our food storage area, found onions and garlic and carrots and celery, you know.
You see Adam kind of like lean over and sort of mumble something to Kildrak, and Kildrak kind of, yeah, you're right.
What did you say, my friend?
You said it was a group effort.
Well, as they say, teamwork makes the dream work.
Adam once again leans in, whispering, apologize. I meant they said.
Wait, who is it that's talking to Adam? Is that Santigas? Who is it?
Kildrak.
Kildrak, okay. I'm gonna notate that and then I'll get back to it. Hang on. Feel free to make commentary. I'm taking my time writing. Okay, so Kildrak looked at Adam, and what did Adam say exactly? I'm sorry.
It was a group effort.
It was a group
Yeah,
effort.
You heard it was a group effort, and then and then Adam leaned over and whispered something else at Kildrak, and then Kildrak corrected himself and said, "I meant they."
So he said it was a group effort, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then he corrected himself to say he meant they said.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, my hand can only write so fast. Trying to take notes. I have a whole ass notebook on our D&D campaigns, and I need to have time to write.
I am just trying to figure out how to take this icon off of you right now.
What is going on?
Icon is the
Tess is having a bad day right now.
Okay.
So-
Yep.
That's all I can say is that's my mental health summarized.
That's the whole mood. Oh no, now it's the Ianfyr's.
Why? Okay.
No.
You have some kind of an effect on you that I
No.
cannot take off.
Okay,
anymore.
so what I think this effect is Tess doesn't know how to cook, so she's definitely experiencing some anxiety around this.
So if you go into your character sheet, look under effects, you probably still have the temporary effect of the bonus from the day before.
Ah, okay, done.
Tess had a lot of anxiety around cooking stew, so she was like dead and all these other things, but more importantly, dead inside kind of feelings.
Unconscious. All right.
Okay, so Tess was in the process of helping cook the stew, and she's going to kind of double take, turn around, and say, Tess is sorry, but them?
Adam just kind of doesn't make direct eye contact with you and doesn't say anything.
Do I need to make a roll for deciding how Tess is going to, like, treat this? Like we're just gonna let this you know, we're just gonna shrug it off, or does Tess really need to know these fucking...
I mean, unless you personally feel like you need to make a die roll, the way that you interact with that from this person is entirely up to you.
You know, I would think honestly, like Ianfyr kind of would just look nonplussed because I mean he's from Shopman, he's in the big city, and he's seen some stuff, he's read things in the library, so clearly, this doesn't
Yeah,
bother him.
while Ianfyr has read from those texts, Tess grew up in a very, very secular religious community. So for her, she understands male and female, but she doesn't understand the in-between. How would I roll for that? For her to turn around and look at Adam and try to figure out what Kildrak is trying to say?
I mean, it's possible you can. Not at current. Not at your current level of understanding.
Let me see. Is there something that I can do here? Performance. Can I roll a performance check to show that Tess is trying to act not bothered by that?
Sure.
Okay. Oh!
Visibly bothered.
Tess is visibly bothered.
You look up knowing that this is like written all over your, almost as if you know that this is written all over your face, and Adam doesn't seem to be paying it any mind.
Okay.
Whether that is for the reason that they're entirely used to it, or just the nature of the person that they are, that still stands to be discovered.
Okay.
Kildrak, noticing that,
Look back at Tess and
makes
say,
direct eye contact with you and says, "It's they."
yeah, Ianfyr's gonna look back at Tess and say, "Don't worry about it. I can talk a little bit about with you, but it's not an uncommon thing."
Hearing Ianfyr say that, Tess is going to nod her head and then turn to both Kildrak and Adam and express in like almost like a distraught way, Tess is super sorry. She's not quite used to what this world is like, and Tess grew up very sheltered, dealing with only black and white, if that makes sense. Either way, Tess apologizes. She is so sorry, Adam, and she will make the necessary changes to make sure that Adam is comfortable in their world.
For just a moment, Adam makes eye contact with you directly, and this is probably the first time that you've seen them do this since you've been on board.
What
But
kind
it is
of
immediately-
feeling does Tess get from this eye contact? Is it awkward?
Yeah, it's sort of an awkward, sort of fearful.
Okay. And Tess is obviously sweating, and she's like, she has both of her hands clasped together in like almost like a prayer form, and she's like holding it up above her head, and she's like, Tess is so sorry.
Adam just kind of like shakes their head, raises up a hand. Doesn't say anything though. Seems to be a very quiet person.
Tess is going to take this moment to turn around and continue stirring the stew.
This entire time, Iolanthe has been trying to lean in and steal a piece of meat from where Ianfyr is putting it in the stew.
Ianfyr, you notice You notice the pupper next to you who keeps trying to kind of lunge at the meat as you are dropping it into the stew.
Um, I think at one point, like while cutting the meat pieces in there, he's gonna actually bat a piece.
Your voice is super soft right now. I can barely make you out.
At one point, Ianfyr is gonna bat one of the pieces off with his dagger in the direction of the wolf.
Yeah. So miraculously, Iolanthe, a piece of the pork just kind of, or a big hunk of the pork just kind of like falls outside of the stew and lands on the floor in front of you.
She gobbles it up real quickly, and this really kind of strange look comes into her eyes, like before it was maybe you could understand some kind of like really high, almost humanoid intellect, but suddenly it seems almost like a carnal look, but then it fades away.
Yeah, the pupper snaps that thing up like without even a second thought.
Who is this behind me? Or like to the side of me, the one that's shadowy?
Just some sailor.
Oh, okay. Not like a ghost or something, right?
Yeah, I haven't put a name on them yet. They're just kind of like leaned up against the wall, too cool for school.
Iolanthe's going to kind of wander around the room and just kind of sniff at everybody and see if she can pick up any bits of conversation.
All right, go ahead and roll investigation. We'll say with advantage. So go ahead and roll it twice if you only roll once.
Oh, these 20s.
I can't wait until we
God
get into some
damn.
form of combat where I roll nothing but ones.
The conversation that is going on between Bogram and Iritra seems to be on missions past that they have undertaken. Apparently the two have known each other for some time, at least through, multiple different jobs, and they're kind of relating stories about, maybe like small monsters that they have overtaken, or do you remember that one guy that we ripped off, that sort of thing. Santigas and Dreia are, as per the usual, locked in a conversation about stories that they kind of share together. Apparently, they have been very good friends for a very long time. Just through their banter, you kind of denote that there isn't really like any kind of. They have a very close friendship. Like they know each other very personally. Like there are remarks, like, oh, I knew that's how you would be, and that's how I knew, this and this and that. Valine just seems to kind of be locked on to Santigas the entire time, and although she sort of interjects in the conversation once in a while, she sort of sits and just takes the role of the observer, the listener. Tyrid, on the other hand, is very open with her questions. Did you beat them? She's very boisterous and very loud otherwise, so it's not very difficult to pick up on her interactions with the rest of the conversation. Let's see. Along the bar, we have Eliza, who tends to be rather silent, but kind of once again taking the role of the observer, looking around, listening into people's conversations. Kildrak and Poe also tend to talk about life in Mekerdika a little bit as you all sit there and wait for the stew to cook. The two of them have obviously known each other prior to even boarding the ship, and one thing that they often bring up is the money that they're making once this tour is completed. So once they reach Shopben, there is talk about, hey, what are you going to do with the money? And Poe kind of goes on about, I'm going to, purchase something for my wife back in Mekerdika, get her something real nice. Adam sits rather quietly the entire time, occasionally leaning over to whisper something to Kildrak, who relays the message to whoever it is that Adam might be talking to. You've never seen anything quite like it, but Adam seems to be very shy.
Iolanthe kind of pokes Adam's hand with her nose.
Adam is sort of taken aback by that and sort of places a hand on top of your head, but doesn't like give you scritches or anything like that. It's almost as if they don't know what to do.
Iolanthe's gonna come back over to the side of the bar and put her paws up on the bar and bark at Tess.
Looking at our pupper friend, Tess is going to take a look at the stew and kind of say to herself, how was the stew doing? Does this look good? And then moving back to Ianfyr, she says, hey Ianfyr, how does the stew look?
Both of you go ahead and roll a wisdom check.
A stew check.
A stew check.
Wisdom check.
Ooh wee. Hoo wee.
Yeah, you check that stew.
We checking that stew.
Ianfyr, you are kind of getting the sense that this is ready. Tess, you looking at the meat, like this obviously is not beef because you've never seen beef turn white like that. Which kind of tells you that this is either chicken or pork or some other kind of bird. So it might be like fowl. But then again,
Okay.
they were pretty good sized cuts of meat, which tells you that it's probably not some kind of game fowl. But otherwise it looks ready.
She's going to take a spoonful and then give it a check.
Yeah, that's pork. You might not know a whole lot about what meat looks like in the raw and what it looks like while it's cooking, but you most definitely know what meat tastes like, and that is a pork stew that you have just made, and it is delicious.
She takes a taste test, and then she kind of flashes back to when she was being raised by dwarves, and she tastes the pepper that's like up in her nose and in her lungs, and she's like, Tess thinks this is pig.
Is there anything that is like triangle shaped that's like a metal thing? Like, is there anything that would look like it would be like a triangle instrument?
Explain. What do you mean by triangle instrument?
So you know, in instruments, the triangle where it's like it's a 3-piece metal bar.
Oh, like a dinner triangle?
Yeah, like a dinner triangle.
No. Not
Darn.
here, no.
Are there at least like 2 metal pieces then?
Probably the first thing that comes to your mind is, I mean, you can pretty much create sounds at will with prestidigitation.
I mean, I can, but it's not nearly as fun to do it without the visual.
I mean, you can also create visuals with prestidigitation, can you not?
Oh, can I? Oh.
Can you not?
At the same
Maybe
time.
minor illusion? Minor illusion might be a thing if you have it.
Sound or an image. Oh, yeah. Alright. Configure how you would like to use the minor illusion spell? What? Alright,
What's
let's
it
just see
say?
what that says. Oh, I see. I see.
You create a sound or an image of an object within a range that lasts for the duration. The illusion also ends if you dismiss it as an action or cast this spell again. If you create a sound, Its volume can range from a whisper to a scream. It can be your voice, someone else's voice, a lion's roar, beating of drums, or any other sound you choose. The sound continues unabated throughout the duration, or you can make discrete sounds at different times before the spell ends. If you create an image of an object, such as a chair, muddy footprints, or a small chest, it must be no larger than a 5-foot cube.
So when I was clicking the thing, it actually brings up the cube. That's what I was having to put in. So
Yeah, that's where the illusion appears.
Yeah. So in this illusion, there's going to be like a dinner triangle with a metal rod that's beating around, and then you're gonna see it's gonna do the whole thing, and then Ianfyr's gonna call, "Dinner's ready. Well, lunch is ready."
Ding 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 ding.
It like Tess forms her tail into a triangle and is like ding 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 ding.
You notice that the both the drow and Bogram both cover their ears when they start hearing the dinging. Valine kind of just kind of squints her eyes. Bogram looks rather irritated.
And then Ianfyr will. Well, it only lasts for a minute, but yeah.
60 seconds of dinging is a long time.
Yeah.
Is this more like a cell phone ring?
Tess is definitely going to take this time to fill up a bunch of bowls and put them out onto the tavern bar for somebody. I mean, if Iolanthe wants to, or Ianfyr, to just take those bowls out and serve them like waiters. But otherwise, Tess is going to be scooping soup into these bowls.
Santigas stands up and he puts his hand on Dreia's shoulder, and Dreia kind of looks at him. Iolanthe, get over there and, Dreia kind of looks at him, nods, and smiles, and they both stand up and they start grabbing bowls and delivering them to the tables here. Santigas sets the bowl in front of Valine, who sort of blushes a little bit, and puts one in front of Turid, who immediately picks the entire thing up. No silver, no spoon, nothing like that, and just.
Oh, jeez.
And then Dreia sets one in front of the two, Bogram and Eritrea, who kind of pick up their silverware. And as soon as Dreia starts making that slurping, I mean, I'm sorry, not Dreia, but as soon as Turid starts making that slurping sound, kind of looks up at her, just gunning her down, like, the hell?
What about Holly?
Holly has left the establishment.
Okay, Holly left.
Iolanthe picks up one of the little bowls in her mouth, if she can. I don't even know. Like by the I don't know. She can't really do that.
I'd imagine it's like medieval times, like those restaurants, and how they have like
sticks.
they have like a bowl that has like a little handle out to the side to like sip soup. I'd kind of imagine that's what we would have.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what's going on.
Yeah, you don't no utensils necessary. Just fucking sip from your soup bowl,
She
Although
wants
there
to,
are utensils if you need them. But
she wants kind of whines at Tess to fill the bowl with some stew.
Tess will definitely oblige and fill up the bowl with some yummy stew.
And Iolanthe will take the bowl and start going up the stairs.
Iolanthe goes up the stairs. Kildrak kind of looks over. You sure that stuff's good for dogs? I've known a number of dogs in my day that might have gotten sick off some.
Tess thinks that's a very good point, but Tess has never had a pet puppy before.
Adam kind of shuffles around and kind of makes their way in between the two of them. Ianfyr, they lean over to you, and um, kind of beckon you to lean in and listen to what they have to say.
You feel leaning close.
There is a whisper. I can take some pork for the dog. If you could pull some out of the stew, please.
Ianfyr will nod, and then he'll grab a few pieces out,
Okay.
and then set them like. Presumably, there's like one of the little like snack plates, or like just a little like not a full dinner plate, but just something.
Sure, like a saucer, yeah.
Yeah, just a little small saucer. You'll set a couple of pieces on the saucer.
Adam takes that saucer and goes up the stairs. What am I looking here? Adam starts to sort of wander around upstairs until they eventually find you in the rain up on the aft castle.
Yeah, Iolanthe made their way up to Balphalin and with the bowl, and kind of nudged at him to take some.
Balphalin turns around, sees what you have in your mouth or in your jowls, and how interesting. I thank you, and takes the bowl from you and begins to sip from it as he, grips the wheel tightly, turning it to the left and to the right. But much to your surprise, and from behind you, Adam approaches, leans down with a small saucer dripping wet with the rain, but hunks of this meat, all laid out on this plate, delicious and delectable. Adam kneels down, offering you the small saucer filled with this pile of meat.
Iolanthe looks down at the meat and immediately eats a few of the pieces, and it's like as soon as the meat taste fills her mouth, that the kind of like hungry look in her eyes gets there again, and she kind of looks at Adam, but then she shakes her head and leans in and licks him on the forehead.
They lean in and say, You're my only friend here, other than Kildren. I don't know.
Iolanthe kind of cocks her head to the side and then kind of pokes at them with her nose and whines a little.
They start to shiver, and kind of pack up their their clothing and kind of, what's the term I'm looking for? They kind of like clench their like shoulders, and yeah, they kind of bundle up and then start proceeding down the stairs once more, where it's warmer. Guys, that's about all the time that we've got for today. We'll go ahead and pick this up next time and continue right here. So I hope everybody has enjoyed the show, and I hope that you'll join us next week for another episode of New Dalancia, 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign. Until then, I am your host and most gracious DM, VG Punks and friends, and we are signing off. Keep a song in your heart.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good night, y'all. Good night.